Do you know that each year more than 9,000 animals come into the Montgomery County Animal Shelter? Or that the Department of Animal Control is the place to call when your pet gets lost? Find out more on this episode of Did You Know? David Garcia and Katie Cole are hoping to find a new member of the family here at the Humane Society Animal Shelter in Rockville, Maryland.
Here looking for a sibling for our golden retriever Stella here. Just finding her a friend to spend some time with.
The shelter staff has been finding homes for animals since 1958.
The animals that are brought here come to us as people find strays. Also, if somebody has a pet and their family circumstances have changed for one reason or another and they find that they're not able to keep the pet anymore, they'll bring the animal here.
Because the county owns the shelter, all animals must be accepted. Most are dogs and cats, but there are also rabbits, snakes, birds, and yes, even a bearded dragon.
Once we've provided the care here, it's a very active effort to get a good match between a new family, or individual as the case may be, and the right pet for their lifestyle and interests.
The animal shelter has counselors who will make sure your new pet is the right fit.
Our adoption counselor will review with you what you need to be able to provide for the animal, and that's going to vary according to the animal's age, health, and your lifestyle. So we're going to take all of that into consideration. If you're somebody who's very energetic and you want to have your pet accompany with you for jogging or lots of outdoor play with the kids, then you're going to want an active kind of pet. If you've got a slower pace, then the adoption counselor will review with you. This animal might be better suited, might make a good lap cat, for example.
To adopt, first you have to fill out an application form. Then there's a telephone interview. And the next step is to have everyone in the home meet the new pet.
You'll have an idea that this is what you're going to have to be able to provide, rather than getting the pet home and being surprised. And then what do you do? So part of our plan is, we really hope that you won't feel like you can't keep the pet because things didn't work out. Our adoption counselors do everything they can to get that to work. If things don't work out, then we want you to bring the pet back here and try again.
Bea Salvanelli adopted 2 cats from the shelter.
These will be my new babies. This is the male, and that's the female. Aren't they adorable? Why here? Because I want to give homes to cats that deserve them.
Megan Clark spends some afternoons here window shopping.
What's his name? Oh, it's number 255. All right.
But before Megan turns a number into a name, she wants to make sure she and her husband are ready to adopt.
I am visiting the dogs. My husband works just down the street, and I meet him for lunch, and then occasionally I come over and I see who's new. But I like to come, say hi, maybe meet one or two. And today I found one that I wanted to actually meet. So I brought him out to the dog yard. They let me visit and bring him out to the dog yard.
The shelter makes sure that all these future adoptees will be as healthy as possible.
Just purring.
The vet is a visiting vet. There are a number of vets that we partner with around the county who come and make visits to the shelter and look over those animals that need a little extra medical attention.
This one had a surgery about 8 days ago for a pyometra, and sutures were there, so but the incision has healed. Beautiful. So I removed the sutures.
Looks good.
Okay.
All right, you're done, sweetie.
See, it wasn't bad.
With animals coming in and out every day, keep maintaining their health is a little bit more challenging. You don't necessarily know right off the bat what's the problem with a given animal. Some of them come in healthy and they do great. Others are more susceptible to illness.
The shelter also provides educational classes for students and other groups, spay and neuter programs to manage the animal population, rabies clinics, and a foster program to take care of animals until they're adopted. So what happens to the pets that don't get adopted? Are they euthanized? Rarely, and only if they have a life-threatening illness or are very dangerous to the community, as in the case of a rabid dog. Otherwise, the shelter works hard to find a home for every pet. 90% of the animals that come into the shelter leave with a family.
And the idea is to help people understand more about what's involved in being a responsible pet caregiver.
Because of that. Also in this building is the Animal Control Division of the Montgomery County Police,
which has more of a law enforcement role. So if there's an issue with an animal that there's a legal component to it, those animals will be brought in as animal control cases.
Captain Mike Wall is the director of the Animal Services Division.
The main thing that we do is we enforce laws in Montgomery County related to animals. An animal is considered at large when it's off its owner's property and not on a leash or otherwise restrained. The only exception to that is dogs can be off leash at one of the county's 5 dog parks.
When your pet is 30 feet from you and sees another dog or sees a cat or a squirrel and takes off running, you can holler as much as you want at that dog and it may or may not come back.
Probably the biggest call we get is dog at large. You know, the old standard dog catcher type call, you know, dog running loose without a leash.
But another officer could handle it. That's a floater. That was about a lady, her dog ran at his dog because he started screaming at her saying, "Your dog's off leash, it doesn't belong here."
Having it on a leash, you have physical control so that if that animal attempts to get away, you're holding on the other end of that leash and you can control it from jumping on a person. Hopefully you can control it from getting away, and hopefully you can control it from biting a person.
The law regarding animal defecation, often you hear that referred to in Montgomery County as what's called the pooper scooper law. What it says is that an animal cannot defecate on property outside of the owner's property. The exception to that is it may defecate on public property. That's only as long as the owner immediately picks up, removes, and disposes of the animal's feces.
Some of the things that the division is responsible for, we are the enforcing agency for the county code as they relate to animals and also the state code as they relate to animals. We regulate facilities that provide care for animals. They're required to be annually licensed and inspection with the division, and these include such establishments as pet shops, riding stables, commercial kennels, and grooming parlors where you have your animal bathed and groomed. And one of the advantages of this is that because they're annually licensed and inspected, you can kind of have a reasonable assurance that when you buy a pet from that pet shop that you're going to get a healthy pet. When you want to buy a pet, the key is to do your homework and to do your research, because when you buy a pet, you're buying the pet, or you should be buying the pet, for the lifetime of that pet. They become a part of the family and need to stay a part of that family for the entire length of that pet's lives.
In Montgomery County, the law requires that all cats and dogs obtain a pet license. And the benefits are really that when you have your pet license, when one of our animal control officers comes into contact with an animal, when they find an animal at large, they can quickly return the pet home. The tag is really a ticket for your pet to be returned home quickly. We also know that it has its rabies vaccination current because the two are tied together. Any animal bite in the county is required to be reported to the Animal Services Division. And what our officers do is anytime a domestic animal bites or scratches and causes a break in the skin of a person, then we quarantine that animal at the owner's home generally for a 10-day period. After a 10-day period, it is considered to be not a risk and not a possibility that rabies was transmitted. So the first time that a dog, say, bites a person, as long as the bite is not serious and severe, that animal is what we declare that animal to be potentially dangerous. It's considered to be a potentially dangerous animal. And that's in our Montgomery County Code. So what we do is we send the owner a letter notifying them that we are considering their dog to be a potentially dangerous animal. And we put some restrictions on the dog at that time. At that time, the owner is notified that he may only walk the dog on a leash, and it has to be walked by a person that's at least 18 years old and physically capable of restraining the animal. We may add some other restrictions depending on the incident and the severity of the incident.
If you'd like more information on this or any of the work provided by the Animal Services Division, please call 240-773-5960 or go online to mchumane.org. You can also check there to find out about the new facility that's in the works. The Animal Services Division and the Humane Society are working together to build a state-of-the-art animal shelter at the intersection of Muncaster Mill Road and Air Park Drive in Gaithersburg. The expected completion date is spring 2013.